Cloud. Welcome to New York's Divine Channel. Camille Conti, you can have it all. I'm here to remind you that you do have it all. And the past is only the past. The present is the present. And anything that you want is possible. Anything that you'd desire to achieve in your life is possible, including putting that together with living from divine will instead of free will. So today's topic is divine will versus free will. Now, I have to let you know that there was a time when I did not know what these concepts meant. I knew actually what free will meant because we heard it growing up in school, and I went to all private parochial schools, and there was praying and mass every day. We went down to the chapel, we said the rosary, and I became very close to divine through that journey. However, somehow either they talked about it and I didn't remember, which is always very possible being a young kid. However, at one point, I came to the place where I realized that it was a choice to either live from divine will or from free will. And so it was at about the age of 19, in fact, exactly, that I decided that I wanted to live a life from divine will. And I had no idea what that really entailed. However, my soul and my heart was yearning to be on that journey and to help with building God's kingdom and being fully connected to creator and source and love and light. And it was a journey that I embarked upon that I had probably intuition telling me to go in that direction. However, I went on faith, and on faith is how you live from divine will versus free will. And I believe that there are a lot of people that start on free will, and then at some point, it is a big calling on your life where you just feel like, I have to be soul aligned with what I'm doing. I have to be here doing what I was meant to do. Life isn't just something to play games with. It's an important and serious mission that we can have a lot of fun on. Never forgetting to have fun, never forgetting to live from a place of joy and bliss and love. And at the same time, combining that while in your joy and your bliss and filling yourself up with self-love and filling up the people that you have in your life with love and putting goodness out into the world, you can also combine it with being on your soul mission, being on your journey, your divine purpose. At a younger age, I have to admit that when I was 19 and I asked divine if I could be supported on a journey that would be coming from a place of guidance and direction from divine, where I could basically wake up in the morning and ask divine, what am I to know today and to do today and to say and not say? Where I honestly, at that time, I have to kind of laugh at myself. I thought that it could potentially be not always fun, but I was okay with that. And thankfully, I learned that when we're in those spaces where life is not always going to be enjoyable, but when we're in that space where it's not enjoyable, that it's a place where we're growing and developing and becoming stronger and more prepared and ready for what is to be and what is coming. And when you come from a place of faith, you're coming from a space of divine will. When you're coming from a place of fear, you're coming from a place of free will. What I mean by that is, if you are looking to be 100% in control of everything in your life and really be able to serve what your heart's desires are and not take into consideration what would be best for the world and what your contribution could be to the world while you're here enjoying and living amongst all of the beauty that God has created in our world. The beauty of the oceans, the trees, the plants, the people, their hearts and their souls, because there's a lot of beauty amongst the things that are not so beautiful, of course. And when you're living from a place of free will, or free will instead of divine will, you're saying, I want to put myself first. I am more concerned about my happiness and my joy, regardless of what potential contributions that I could make to the world. And I know that that's probably a very controversial statement that I'm making. I'm quite sure of it. So hold your emails because you have to listen to the whole show. Don't just send me an email about one sentence I said and then tune out and not listen to the rest of it. At least give the entire show a chance before you think that what I just said is not perfect in your belief system. And here's why. Because as the journey of life goes, and I do coach a lot of people. I have a lot of clients in my agency, and in my academy, I have a lot of students. So I have a lot of people that are both students and clients from all over the world. And what I have noticed working with them over the last, well, I've been in business for over 36 years. However, I started my private practice with what I became about 15 years ago, working with Reiki energy and working with prayer and meditation and energy work coming through me from divine. I would say that was about 15 years ago. And then I started my private practice about 10 years ago. And then the agency, we formed an agency together about 3.5 years ago. So on this journey of working with so many clients all around the world from all different countries and territories, we have seen a repeated pattern. And then, of course, in our own lives as well. Me personally, I've noticed that sometimes when you get what you thought you wanted, it doesn't ultimately give you what you thought you were going to get from it, whether it be joy, happiness, love, fulfillment. And since I saw this happen many times since I turned 19 and gave my heart and soul to divine and said, I want to work to help build God's kingdom in the world. I want to be guided by divine, and I would like to make contributions that are beneficial and relevant to the time and age in which I live, meaning that they might not be what were relevant 20 years ago or 10 years ago or even 5 years ago, but they're relevant right now. And meaning that I was going to need to talk to divine on a regular basis daily in order to stay relevant with what people wanted and needed in the world on my divine purpose. And so today I'm asking all of you, are you ready, willing, and able to say to divine, I would like to intentionally be on my divine purpose, using my gifts and abilities, and also my traumas, the things that I have gone through and lived through and had to overcome, to help others, because we come always as a full package deal. Each of us individuals, we've got the things that we've overcome. We've got the thing they do say, if it doesn't kill you, it'll make you stronger, right? Well, I definitely have some of those stronger places from things, and I'm sure you do too. Wherever you are sitting in the world right now, listening, whether you're live right now or whether you're tuning in later on and listening to this recording. And I want you to know that the golden nuggets of what you've been through are just as valuable as the golden nuggets of the good things that you are able to contribute to the world. And it could just be very small, one day at a time, one person at a time, just a random act of kindness that you're going to come from a place of love and kindness when you are either on the phone talking to somebody because you're trying to straighten out something on the phone, or you're out in the public and you're at a park, or you're at the grocery store, or you're walking down the street, and you're able to just give a smile, give a positive comment, let somebody know that their dog is cute, or I love your glasses, or you're sitting in a coffee shop and you just give somebody a smile, somebody who you know, or maybe you don't know, but you know that people might have not gotten a smile lately from anybody. You don't know what each and every person is going through, but that is coming from a place of divine will versus free will, like taking into consideration what kind of a very small, medium, or big contribution you could make to the world each day. It's actually really fun, because when you say a prayer or just an invocation or you set an intention, all of these things are very similar to each other. Or you do a meditation and you say, and if you want to do that with me today, I will do it with you. And you say, divine, I today hereby I'm going to live from divine will. And when you say that, and you don't have to say that right now, if you're still listening and kind of finding out what divine will versus free will is, it's really saying that you're going to be healthy and happy, and you're going to be achieving your heart's desires and your goals and dreams, whatever they may be. Of course, as long as they're legal, moral, and ethical, we've got to put that in there, because this is a worldwide show and people will be tuning into this recording on various cable television stations from 195 nations around the world. So I want to make it clear that when we're saying this, what we're saying is you're going to be able to come from a place of what your heart desires, what you're longing to create in your life: health, wellness, happiness, joy, family members that you love them and they love you, and you have a fulfilling relationship. You have a mutually respectful and mutually fulfilling relationship. These are the things that most people want when they join my team, when they're in my academy or in my agency and we're working with them. These are very common things people are creating in their life. And work that's fulfilling and see progress in their life. Did you know that actually people are happy? The happiness barometer, if you want to call it that, or thermometer, goes up when they just see progress being made in their life. So if you're just making progress, your barometer goes up and your heart is warm and joy begins and hope starts peeping through, if not skyrocketing, depending on where you're at in your journey right now. And this show is for everyone, no matter if you're a beginner to the whole idea of divine will versus free will, or whether you're someone who's been dabbling and reading and going to different holistic shows and watching different things on the internet, YouTube, Gaia, all the different apps that are out there. Or if you've been doing this a long time and you might even be a healer, a speaker, or you might be in classes and courses and academies that are teaching you spiritual training on faith and inspiration. This channel, Faith and Inspiration, that we chose to be on within the Win-Win Women Network is because everything starts with faith and inspiration, all of life. And when you're coming from a place of divine will versus free will, you're coming from a place of faith and inspiration. If you're coming from a place of free will, you're coming from a place of fear and not hopeful. So there's a lot of hope within the divine will, with the faith and inspiration. And so you're committing to allowing God to guide you on your path by meeting and having a heart-to-heart communication daily. Sometimes you don't get a chance to do it daily, and that's okay too. Sometimes you might be taking your daily walk and you're connecting with the nature, with the trees and the water and the rocks. And that is a connection with divine as well, because this is all divine's planet that we're living on. And you may just feel really close to creator and source. I know I do when you're in the outdoors, nature, wilderness, even if it's just outside and you're walking down your street with grass and trees and see the flowers are so pretty and you're connecting with source. That's part of really just getting quiet with nature, with divine, and then sitting and feeling or hearing or listening or seeing a guidance. Now, if you have a day off, so there's a difference on how are you going to live from divine will versus free will, meaning from faith and inspiration and hope versus fear and a lack of belief in miracles and the things not seen yet. So how are you going to do this? Well, there's a difference between like, how are you going to do it in your work, like in your work life, bringing in money, and how you're going to do it in your personal family life, and then how you're going to do it out in the community as a community member, right? So let's just talk about a few of those different components. And then I'm going to go into the truths and the myths about living from a space of divine will versus free will. So first, let's go to what's an example of living from a place of divine will versus free will just out in the community? Again, the random acts of kindness. However, let's say you have the day off, and for this day off, you haven't decided that you're going to go to the spa and have a pedicure or sleep in and just rest all day at home, or put your chair out at the river or the lake and sit, or call a friend or watch a movie, watch your favorite videos. Maybe today on your day off, what you're going to do, or even a half a day, is you're going to just ask divine, is there anything that I can do to help out today? Is there anything that you can put upon my heart? And the more you practice this, the stronger you'll get at receiving the messages. So you might just start feeling like, oh, I need to call my mom today and give her a call, which may or may not be an easy thing to do depending on your relationship. Or you might be feeling like, oh, I need to call my daughter or my son today and check in and really profoundly and deeply listen. Or I need to go and check in with the school teachers at my son or daughter's school and really deeply listen to what they have to say about your child and what's going on. And maybe you have a little extra time. And you know that's going to make a difference because you're asking divine to place it on your heart and your soul, to place it in your intuition, either to put it in your ear, your eye, or where you see it or you hear it, or just your knowing, you're all knowing, or you're feeling. And you know what? Everybody's got one that's the strongest. So think about it right now. When you do get that intuitive hit to do or not do something, say or not say something, do you feel like it usually comes from just a place of all knowing, like you just know? Or do you feel like it comes from a place of feeling? You can just feel it. I feel this way. People usually say, you know what I feel, if they're one that's the strength of feeling, which is actually considered a clairsentient, because that's feeling. And then if it's knowing, it's called a claircognizant. And then some people say, you know what I see happening? And seeing is clairvoyant, where you see. And then another one might say, you know what I hear? I hear that blah, 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 blah. And that's clairaudient. Okay. So pay attention to if you feel more like you see it, you feel it, you hear it, or you know it. And then pay attention to others as well when they're talking to you, because you'll notice that they're either saying more often, I see this happening, or I feel this, or I know this, or you know what I hear. Pay attention, because that's their strongest channel of receiving information, which I am New York's Divine Channel, inspiring motivational speaker and an entertainer. And as a channel, it's almost like listening to the radio or watching the TV, or just really knowing, where I feel it in the depths of my soul that this is what's going on, kind of thing. Those are different channels of communication that divine has with us and that the universe has with us. A lot of people resonate more with the word universe, so we can use that term as well. Okay. And when you are out in the world, in the community, and you are opening up and saying, okay, I have the day off, I'm not really going to go do something special for myself today. I kind of feel like I want to do something special for divine to help out in the world. And if it's not you being guided to contact one of your family members or something close to home, you might even be led to go and sit in the coffee shop and then just pass along like a happy message, or just give a happy smile and a compliment to somebody. And then that's your contribution for the day. Or sometimes you go through the drive-through and you put $5 and you say, give this $5 toward the next person's bill, and don't tell them where it came from. And that's so fun, where they're going, oh, money just fell from heaven, right? Because today they might have been asking the universe for a sign that there is hope and that their life can get better. And then you provided that sign. So you're kind of just paying attention to what you feel led to do. I know that I've been on like little teeny positive missions from divine like that many times. And then there's other times where I'm like, I really want to do something really cool today. What can I do, divine? What can I do to make a difference? And so that might be, going and buying some canned goods and some foods and dropping it off at the food bank. It might be bringing some new clothing and toys for children over to the shelter where they have for domestic violence for women and children. I've done that before, where they were able to bring the families down with the kids, and they were all picking a toy and they were all happy. And it was very exciting to be able to do something like that. Then there's been times where, as a divine channel and at the level that I'm working at with clients, I've been guided that, you can go sit in this area here. We're going to bring somebody to you that really needs to talk to somebody like you. And I won't go into a long story about some of these missions I've been on before, but they have been so fulfilling. God has actually positioned me. I know one New Year's Eve, when I was single and I didn't have a good date choice, and I was like, what am I going to do? New Year's Eve needs to be fun. And it is fun to make a positive difference in somebody's life, or in a lot of people's lives. And so I was like, all right, I need to be on some kind of a divine mission for New Year's Eve, because I want to have fun, and I don't have any real plans, and I could take myself out if I wanted to, or I could like go on a date with someone who I'm really not wanting to go on a date with, or I could go make a difference in the world. So I was guided to go to the spa area earlier in the afternoon at this one casino that was nearby. and just sit in the waiting room. And I was like, all right, what are we doing here? And I remember they said, no, we're going to be sending you somebody to talk to. And then a lady came out and sat with me in the waiting room. And I was like, talking to Divine going, is this my person? And they were like, yes, she's your person to talk to, but there's another person, just start with her. And I'm like, okay, I'm all excited going, what's going to happen today? And there's always that little part of you going, I wonder if this is real or if I'm just doing something weird. You know, even today, being a Divine channel for a very long time, you're going, I can't wait. This is going to be cool. So we started talking because the lady said to me, so what do you have going on today? I see you with your laptop, because I was doing work on my laptop and kind of just keeping myself busy, because I had no idea how long I was going to be sitting in the waiting room, because when I got in there was nobody in there. So I'm doing that. And then I said, all right, she's asking me what I'm doing. What am I supposed to say to her? And they said, just tell her what you do for a living. So I said, well, you know, I'm a Divine channel. I do healing work, trauma release. I have really cool groups. I work with special needs people, with their parents. And I kind of gave her a rundown of what I do. And then she goes, oh, awesome. I have somebody I want you to meet. And I'm like, all right, that sounds great. So she says, my son is in there. He's getting his hair done. And when he comes out, I want to introduce him to you. And I said, all right, that's fabulous. So it was a very precious, what God did through me that day. And if I wasn't completely hooked on living from divine will versus free will that day, before that day, I was after that. And I'll tell you about that in one second. However, I started that path when I was 19, and I realized, you know, you get what you want sometimes and you don't even want it, and it doesn't even make you happy. I mean, other times it does. There's other times you get what you want and you're like blissfully happy and you're like, awesome, yay. And I realized, I'm like, let's just see, if I live from the guidance of divine, will I be happier? And like, for instance, I was single for a really long time after my divorce years and years and years ago. And I kept picking people who I thought were right for me. And then it wasn't working. So I finally decided to say, divine, send me my divine partner. Send me the one that's supposed to be mine, and I'm supposed to be theirs. And it's a divine partnership that we're supposed to be on this journey of life together. And so I started, actually, after opening up and basically surrendering to divine and asking for guidance on my love life and not just on my career, I started seeing visions of this person. And eventually I knew exactly what they looked like before I even met them. And I was like, wow. And it was a completely different kind of a person that I had ever been with before. And at the same time, it was like, well, nothing else has worked, right? So let's find out about this person that divine is now showing me. And it was right. Long story short, I've been happily married now for almost 4 years. And I started really realizing, you know what? Our creator, divine, the universe, it knows a lot more sometimes than we do. And so, you know, coming from that place of trusting and having faith in divine to fulfill you with the ability to live your heart's desires and create an amazing life and be happy with it and be full of joy. Of course, there's always the bumps in the road on the way there. It's not 100% joy. However, more often joy is, in my opinion, the way to go. So back to the story with the lady in the spa and checking my time as to when we're going to be switching over to the interactive portion. So she brought her son out, and being a divine channel, I was able to see exactly what was going on with him, because I am able to I see it. What divine does is shows me an x-ray of what's going on, and then shows me what needs to happen to help the person become more whole and more healthy. And when I looked at him, I could see that he was probably going to be alive for maybe 24 to 72 more hours, and that he was already particulated her son, and he was about maybe 30 years old, maybe 28, somewhere in there. And he was already particulated. I had never seen this before. So God was showing me how to see these things. And I could see like a third of his body was on the planet and 2/3 of it was already on the other side. And I was like, it almost knocked me off my feet, but I had to keep a poker face, of course, because I was like, all right, what am I supposed to do now, God? Asking divine, what do you have me here? What message? And I said, we need you to give the mom and the son the message because he's going to cross over. He's going to pass. And it's going to be really soon. So she brought him over to me and she said, we got to hurry up. I just want you to meet him really quick. He's usually in a wheelchair and he's usually on his oxygen mask, but he wanted to have a really nice day. And it does bring me to tears. He did really want to have a nice day. He wanted to get his hair done. He wanted to feel normal without his oxygen mask. And we've got to get him back up to the room probably in about 5 minutes. So can I just introduce you? And I said, yes. So the message that came through was, and I gave it to the mom and the son. And what divine had said to pass on is, you have completely accomplished your soul mission. Everything you have done has been more than perfect. You've actually been here for a few years longer to enjoy some more time. And mom, you've done a good job with him. He has done everything needed. And then I said, you have done an amazing job. And he said, thank you. He smiled and he gave me a hug. And I said, this is your angels talking to you from God. And he cried more. And then we were able to just give him a hug and let him move on. And I was so thankful for being able to do that and be an instrument for God so that the mom and the son could move to that next transition with some more peace in their heart. Because he looked like he knew. He looked like he knew exactly what I was saying. And so did the mom. They nodded. And so for that was like a confirmation for them. So I hope I've grabbed your heart and I hope I've gotten you excited about some of the amazing things that you can do when you're living from a place of divine will versus free will. So now we're going to switch over to the interactive component of the show. And I'm going to take the time and the energy to talk with some of you and answer some questions that you might have. So let's do that now. All right. We